February 26, 2018, Monday. I missed a week. I had a few things happen, but I'm back. I'm here. I survived. I made it through, but whatever. Leave it alone. So I'm going to try to have this discussion and see if it works. We'll see. One of the things I've been talking about, well, a lot of the things I've been talking about is invisible forces. These forces that seem to be enveloped in us, around us, through us. And they do a lot of guiding, inspiring, driving sometimes of sorts, like in directions and whatnot, but they're constantly there. One of the things I want to address about these invisible forces is that they're nothing new. The only thing that may be new is an interpretation of what this force may be. So in now these videos, you are experiencing my understanding of these forces, but in reality, these forces have been existent throughout time. I mean, they're nonstop. They're always here. They're present. They never leave. It's in nature. It's in the universe, quote unquote. I mean, it's constantly surrounding us. It's been with ancient man to modern man. And the easiest way I can describe it that was going through my head before thinking about this discussion was in the form of, the Sumerians and their Anunnaki, the Judaics and their Yahweh, as well as the angels. And in my opinion, we are the fallen angels, we as individuals, not any Lucifer character. But in hindsight, that Lucifer character is also a version of you. It's a branch of you. It's an understanding of you. It doesn't mean it is you. It definitely is a part of you, but it's not the character that we've been led to believe it is, because without going too long down a tangent, in my opinion, that character is a piece or portion of the character that we all carry, as well as the storyline that's behind it, being the fallen one, the one who comes down from heaven, the one who goes against the grain. I believe is a story of our spirit, of our soul. It's everything that our soul has gone through in order to achieve this life that we are in today. Because in my opinion, as an invisible force of our own reckoning, of our own being, our own self-centered invisible force that we once were, and before we came into this life, we were actually know-it-alls in a sense, in my opinion. It's like we were so knowing that we didn't think real life had anything to offer. So in return, we experienced real life, and not only maybe just one life, but many, many lives and many experiences. And we're led to understand that these experiences in reality are a lot different than we could probably ever fathom in this invisible realm. You need tangibility in order to understand the actual experience. You need the experience to understand and learn from the outcome. Like, it's a constant cycle. You can imagine yourself great and successful and plentiful and on top of that mountain all you want, but until you actually achieve it, will you know what the battles are and the consequences and the ego and the pride, and here comes with all these features that comes along with power and wealth and so on and so forth. Like, you can imagine it all day, every day, never stop thinking about it and think about what you would be like, how you would be, but until you achieve that pinnacle, will you ever actually know? That's my opinion of these invisible forces, us as invisible forces, us as these fallen angels, as, the spirit who came into the tangible physical body. That's just my opinion on that aspect. So what I'm trying to say is, like, the Ascended Masters, the Pleiadians, the Orions, the Reptilians, any channeler that is in the New Age area, as well as the archangels and the angels and the demons and demon possession and all these forces that exist out there in the world that you hear about in these different forms or fashions, are really just opinions and perceptions from one person that may have chosen to decide to describe this force in this way, and it trickled through consciousness. Everybody is latched onto it, and that's became the modern understanding of that force. In my opinion, it's in reality this universal force that exists on a universal level, and the individual will actually create these definitions and these ideas for what to describe this force as, and it either takes hold or it doesn't. Like the conscious person either grabs onto it or they don't grab onto it. And you know if you grabbed onto it based off of it being a mainstream title that you're aware of, whether it be an alien or a ghost or an angel, a god, it doesn't matter, because in every aspect, all these ancients were describing the same thing. You know, the Egyptians with their thousands and thousands of gods, your Hindus and your Buddhists ain't really falling into that category, Jainism, all these different religions that categorize thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of gods, because I think Hinduism goes something to like 1 million or 2 million, if not 200,000, some effect of that nature. But in every aspect, they obtain this idea of a force that comes from either an animal, a creature, a thing, and it associates power to it, and it creates it as an identity, as a god or as a force. Everybody will either hear it or not hear it. But in reality, those forces are coming from the mental properties, from the individual, but also from the conscious army that puts behind this idea of this force. Every individual who latches onto whatever title that you can think of and creates that idea will actually implement a whole life of its own. I read in Sylvia Browne's book, Unexplained Mysteries, one time, like when I very first started getting into my books and reading. She laid out the idea that everyone's conscious force is what created Loch Ness monsters, Bigfoot, Sasquatches, the aliens. Didn't really matter who or what, but the conscious idea of it is what created these things inside our reality. And I just kind of looked at it, smirked, laughed, didn't really think it was too truthful. And here I am now, later in time, understanding that, but kind of more on a detailed idea of it, because in reality, yes, that is what happened, but it's not like it just conspired out of nothing. It was a trickle effect from, story on story on story. When we're talking Greek mythology, I mean, are they talking about these same invisible forces that I'm trying to describe to you? These forces come in the form of your individualness, in your individual thought, your individual day, your individual character will actually have whims that lead you down inspired paths that kind of guide you, if you pay attention, into these weird miraculous moments. When I think about the miraculous moments that have led me here to be right now, like in front of the camera, like even talking to this effect with you guys is just kind of surreal in my own world, even though it really doesn't seem like it's doing much. I know it's doing something because I keep getting inspired to do it. I don't feel I would have that inspiration if it wasn't for those forces. On some telepathic level, these forces, as much as they are a part of you, they are outside of you, and they see the things that you can't see and are there to guide you and inspire you in the desired paths that may seem destined, I guess, correct for your path. You won't know it until you learn to listen to the inside force that's within you that confirms that gut instinct, that impulse thought, that impulse moment that confirms everything is right. And you won't get that confirmation until you actually decide to go out on a limb and listen to your true self-conscious thinking, not in the form of I'm not good enough, I can't do it, how can I do it, like not because that's all your ego. When you actually listen to that gut impulse thinking, that is your gut intuition and your first initial response to any kind of action towards you. When you finally take initiative to listen to each and every first initial gut impulse, you will be surprised, more than likely. I can put money on every aspect that you encounter from that point forward, because your gut instinct is telling you something. It's a radio wave that you're being signaled from the outside realm, just like animals and the birds and the whales and the dolphins and all these creatures that are, being guided by their mental vibration is the same thing that you will experience if you learn to live off your initial gut. Now, the only thing that's more magical and crazier about this is your mind creates such an impulse effect, not impulse, but pulse effect, that it only receives and sends out what it's looking for. It's that conscious thinker behind it. That's the power behind our own thinking, is that we have the ability to manipulate and control the magic that we wish to encounter. Like, we either determine we want to experience grief or bad luck or worry, or we determine we want to experience greatness and success and abundance. And even for the best of them, myself included, I still have plenty of things that are weighing me down, but it's still going to be your perception on what those things are and if they truly are weighing you down, or are they serving a greater purpose. Because this invisible force I speak of is only doing it for the right intent. And again, if everything you believe is what you create, if you believe that these forces are only doing good and is doing the best for you, the best possible outcome will come, then that is going to be what happens. And it's not going to be until you realize that, or at least pay attention is more what I should say, is that when you pay attention to each and every moment or instance that you go through where you actually listened to your gut and went with it and you didn't question it, and you excluded that negation in your mind, you actually just let it go and didn't pay attention to it. Because in every impulse gut reaction, you're always going to have that logic that comes following behind it, saying, who do you think you are? You can't do this. You can't accomplish it. You're nobody. You're too small in the totem pole. In every form or fashion, corner or cranny, direction, left or right, like, it's going to tell you, it's going to hit you right upside the face. And it's up to you to determine, do I listen to that gut impulse, or do I listen to the negation, which is the ego? It's been my experience and my understanding that that gut impulse is your spiritual aspect. It's not that force outside of you, because within you, you hold that own spiritual spark of your own self that knows each and every moment and given desire and outcome. You know all this inside internally, and that's who I'm speaking to. And if you are drawn to any of these conversations or talks or whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish here, you already have part of that with you, because that's the part of you that's talking to you, that's making you drawn to this. Like, you already carry that within you. I can almost guarantee it. And there's so much more. Again, every time I do these things, there's so much more I want to go into, but the ultimate goal behind these things is that I want to document current modern moments of thought that I'm currently in. And currently right now, my mode of thought is these invisible forces and reincarnation. Where do they tie from? Where do they come from? Why are they even here? Why are they being experienced? Because in my world, they're so strong right now. Not only in my interpretations, because it's not like I'm seeing these things. It's always through your own interpretation. You'll experience it, but it's not only through the interpretation, but it's through the impulse thoughts that come flowing through your mind in the random sporadic moments. You have to just constantly self-reflect and think about these things, like, why are they occurring? Why are they coming up? And so this is why this talk even occurred, is because it's been a mode of thought within my own personal experience. But ultimately, I want to be able to experience a bigger picture I have planned for all this, not necessarily just in spirit, but just documenting, following along. It's still taking a minute. I'm like, every time I'm getting to the top, I get knocked back down, but I'm trying to, like, really just push through it. Like, it's all we can do. Everything is cycles. With the lows comes the highs. With the highs comes the lows. You just have to learn to expect it. When you expect it, it's not so surprising. And if your perception is that in the positive, then none of these knockdowns should be knocking you down. It's just a reason to get back up. So wish you luck and have a great rest of the day. Till next time, thanks for watching.